Bienvenidos a Contralona TV, soy Tatiana Jiménez. Para mí es un placer estar nuevamente con todos ustedes. En el programa de hoy vamos a presentar a un luchador bien conocido por todos ustedes. Se conoce como Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, John Morrison y su nombre de pila es John Hennigan, que nos estará contando sobre su carrera, su vida como luchador, todos los logros que ha tenido, entre otras cosas. También su participación en la WWE, en Impact y Aro Lucha. Así que sin más preámbulo, vamos a dejarlos con Joel y John Hennigan.
I don't know how to call you. Johnny Mundo, Johny Nitro.
Mil Johnnies.
Mil Johnnies. Do you remember Dean Malenko, the man of the thousand?
Oh.
Well, the man of the thousand.
I got more names than Dean Malenko has holds. How about that?
How you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here with us in Contralona TV. Puerto Rico is watching you right now. You've been there.
What's up, Puerto Rico?
You've been there in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah, I've been over to Puerto Rico several times with yes. WWE,
yep.
A dozen times maybe, for Carlos, someone over there also.
Yep.
Good surfing in Puerto Rico. I went a couple of times to La Ocho when we were staying at that Hilton up in the,
yep.
in, the nice area,
yep.
and then over to Arecibo.
Yes.
Twice I surfed over in Arecibo.
The north of Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I love it in Puerto Rico. I hope you guys are doing all right. I heard you had some hard times.
Yes, we just passed Hurricane Maria. What can you tell us about the fan base in Puerto Rico?
It's always an honor to wrestle in front of fans that really appreciate wrestling. And you can definitely say that about fans in Puerto Rico. Every time I get into a ring in Puerto Rico, the energy that you feel from the people is infectious. It makes you want to come back. It makes you want to wrestle harder. It makes you want to leave everything out there because you're getting so much back in return.
Awesome. Talking about your career, we remember when you started on Tough Enough.
Back, man,
that was like 16 years ago or something. What can you tell us about the experience? Yes.
Man, if I could describe Tough Enough with one word, I would just say opportunity. It's really what it is. It's for me, it's how I got my foot in the door of this business, and it was a reality show. It was brutal. It was tough, but I got to learn from the best. From Al Snow, and I got to meet the entire WWE roster through Tough Enough. I ended up winning, and I got my contract, and I got to OVW, and then got to continue getting trained by the best. Lance Storm, Danny Davis, Jim Cornette, Rip Rogers. Man, the list goes on and on about how many great teachers I've had in this business.
And you won the contest with Matt Capotelli, I think it was his name.
I did, yeah.
And I think he had something, a tumor or something like that. Do you know about him? So
I saw Matt a few months ago.
Okay.
He's in Louisville still, and he's doing great. He's married. He's managing a couple of gyms out there. Okay. He had a huge malignant tumor about the size of a golf ball removed from his head. It was a brain tumor, and it was touch and go there for a little bit with him, and he never lost his positivity. He got the tumor removed, then went through chemo and radiation for years and years and years, and actually just recently relapsed and has another tumor now, and is going to have to go through it all again. But from all my dealings with Matt Capotelli, he's somebody that I think about anytime I'm having a bad day, because he has had a hard life, and he's always positive, and he never pushes any negative energy onto anybody. He always brings people up around him, and I've always loved that about him, and consider him a friend, and feel lucky to be able to say that.
Awesome, and we wish him all the best if he's seeing this interview. What was the first thing that passed you by when they told you that you were going to be Johhny Nitro?
So the very first thing that happened was they said I was going to be Johnny Blaze.
Okay.
Then I was going to be Johnny Spade, and then the third week on Raw, I changed my name to Johnny Nitro.
Okay.
But the very first thing that crossed my mind when I got the call was like, yes, I made it. I'm going to be on Raw. And then when I found out I was going to be like a character on the show as opposed to a wrestler, I was at the time I was like, whoa, wait a minute. But I'm not going to be a wrestler. I'm just going to be the apprentice to Eric Bischoff. And if I had that offer now, I would be jumping and clapping and super stoked. But back then I was like so young and I wanted to wrestle so bad, more than anything, that I was a little upset that I was going to be a character that wasn't a wrestler. But I had a 6-month run with Bischoff. And learned a lot from him. And my very first night on Raw, did a vignette with Eric Bischoff and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I worked a lot with Coach also, and really cut my teeth there with the way that vignettes are filmed. It's fast-paced. You don't get a lot of takes, and you have to convey information to tie the show together. And you also have to be entertaining. Ultimately, wrestling is entertainment. That's what people watch for. And if you're not entertaining, they can get anybody to just convey information. You have to figure out how to do all those things if you want to be an important part of the show.
And obviously, your career exploded then. We saw you with Eminem, Melina and Joey Mercury, making a tag team partner. And you guys did a lot of things there in the WWE as tag team champions. What can you tell us about that experience?
Eminem, coming up with them from OVW and making it on the main roster are some of my favorite memories from my entire time in the business. We debuted in Madison Square Garden. Our first match was in Madison Square Garden. We debuted in Carlitos Cabana the week before. But our first match was at MSG versus Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. And we ended up winning the WWE Tag Team Championships that night. And it was a surreal feeling. You know, you go from working in bingo halls and high schools at OVW and learning how to wrestle to a few months go by and like suddenly instead of the bingo hall in Shelbyville, now you're in MSG and you just won the tag team championships and you're doing a photo shoot. It felt really validating, and I'm still proud of those matches that we had with those guys, the experiences that I had with Joey and Melina, and how much I learned from the business, about the business, from the people we got to work with, and from tagging with the two of them.
Awesome. Obviously, then ECW came by, and you became John Morrison.
Yeah, the Shaman of Sexy era.
Exactly.
The warrior poet.
It was a drastic change, but the people liked it.
Yeah.
That way. What can you tell us about John Morrison?
You know, it's I guess I went from Johhny Nitro, who was like a trendy, name-dropping, trust fund type LA kid, to John Morrison, who was more of a warrior poet, a narcissistic warrior poet, because John Morrison was a little bit full of himself, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
But it was a fun evolution, because it wasn't completely drastic. I was still on the dark side of the force, so to speak. But I got to use a lot of the stuff that I learned in college. I wrote poetry in college, and I wrote films. I still do. And a lot of the type of things that John Morrison said were stuff that I got from Charles Baudelaire, a French poet, from Nietzsche, from philosophy, and different types of poetry. And I try to find ways to tweak these astute observations about humanity into narcissistic observations about myself, and I had a really good time doing it. ECW was also a really good time. Great matches there with Punk, and then ended up at the end of that run forming my tag team with The Miz.
Yes.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about The Miz and John Morrison making that?
Miz and Morrison, man.
That was great.
Literally,
the dirt sheet.
A few nights ago, I went to the Miz's baby shower.
Okay.
And we had like a bunch of games, like a diaper changing contest with him and Maurice. Okay. And then we had a chugging contest where we were all chugging beer out of baby bottles. And I'll be damned if I'm gonna let the Miz beat me at anything. And it was fun because it was like a time warp, and I thought about all the time I spent tagging with him, making the dirt sheet with him, and just thinking of what we were gonna do in the matches. And we had this really like brotherly competitiveness where neither one of us ever wanted to lose. But I think in that competitive almost like competitive chemistry. The way we were kind of constantly at each other's throats, a little bit like brothers. We found who we were separately and who we were together as a tag team, and I think that's why it worked so well.
La fotografía no puede cambiar tu realidad, pero sí mostrarla.
Is there something that you couldn't do in the WWE that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, main event WrestleMania.
Okay.
Absolutely. Become world champion, main event WrestleMania. It's funny though, the longer you're in the business and the more successful you become, and you look back at your career and think, I've achieved more than maybe I ever thought I would, more than 95% of the people in the business will. Well, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I'll just speak for myself. I'm never happy with it. I always dwell on what ifs, and sometimes I think that could lead to unhappiness, but unhappiness and ambition are sometimes a similar path. And I try to stay positive with the what ifs and make sure the fire is constantly lit under my ass to get up and work out and push for more stuff.
Great. But obviously your wrestling career take another path.
Oh yeah.
And you went to Mexico.
The first ever absolute champion of AAA, the Mega Campeonato, the Latino Americano Championship, and the Crucero Mundial all at the same time. Lucha Underground champion of 5-star wrestling on Free Sports in the UK, champion of a PCW at Fed in Los Angeles, champion of Qatar Pro Wrestling in Qatar.
Wow.
And I've never taken my foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, as far as pushing myself to evolve in the ring and pushing myself to get out there and never phone it in on indies, especially now. It's the older I get and the more time I spend in the business, the more I become aware of how limited time is also. Okay. Oh man, especially in wrestler years. You don't have a ton of time. You better get it done while you're in shape and while you still can. So that's running through my head. I've got a lot of things left to achieve.
Wow, awesome. And you're something else that you're doing is being an actor. You just made a movie like a year ago or something?
It came out last year. You're talking about Boone the Bounty Hunter. It's a story about a bit of a narcissistic reality show bounty hunter who boons celebrities like Kevin Sorbo for this reality show.
Okay.
The lines between this reality show bounty hunter, his public persona, and who he is as a person start to blur a little bit, and that's something that you see a lot in wrestling, which is part of the reason I was fascinated with the story. But in order to save his show from being canceled, Boone decides to go after a real criminal in Mexico, and Rampage Jackson, Osric Chow, Spencer Grammer, his crew of bounty hunters, they go down to Mexico to go after this trust fund kid, Jonathan Lipnicki, and then an action comedy ensues. It's the thing that I've done outside wrestling that I'm the most proud of. I spent about 5 years on Boone, writing it, producing it, making sure it got finished, finding distribution for it, continuing to push it on social media, talking about it on shows like this, and it's the best movie that I've done. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to check it out. It's everything I'm best at. It's a self-deprecating hero, a blend of pro wrestling, parkour, and MMA-based stunt choreo. It's a real fun movie.
Awesome. Is it true that you sold your house to make this dream come true?
I did. Okay. So I wrote the script for it, and I shot a sizzle trailer, and I must have had like 50 meetings, like at all these different coffee shops in LA, because that's where people meet in LA, I guess, when you're trying to raise money for something. Okay. And it turned out that if you're meeting someone in a coffee shop about funding your movie, there's a good chance that person is full of shit. Wow. And maybe 2.5 years into this process, I started becoming aware of the fact that if I didn't just pony up and fund it, it was never going to happen. And it ended up being what I did. And sold the house. I used to have a house, and now I got a movie. Financially, was it wise? I don't know, but I wouldn't do anything different. I'm really proud of Boone, and I'm happy that it's out there, and it's opened a lot of doors.
You also participated in Glow, the first season of Glow, something that
Salty
in
to
the
Sack
80s.
Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the coolest pro wrestler name in history.
Yep.
Top 10, top 20 at least.
Your experience working with that season.
I can't say enough good things about Glow. Chavo Guerrero, was doing a lot of stunt coordinating on Glow and training the cast how to wrestle.
Okay.
The cast, all the girls in the cast were really welcoming. And it was really cool to be involved in the pilot. Mark Maron, also Allison Brie. It's really cool when you meet big stars who are warm and friendly. And I feel like in wrestling that's often the case, but sometimes in Hollywood there's a lot of douchebags.
Wow.
Actors are douchebags a lot, but that wasn't the case on Glow. Not even from the cast, the writers and the producers and the director, pretty much everybody across the board was really awesome to be around.
Great. You're now part of Impact Wrestling, as Johnny Impact, part of
Johnny
Lucha Underground,
Impact.
and part of Aro Lucha. So big things are coming up in wrestling for you.
It's a cool time to be an independent wrestler, which is what I would classify myself as now.
Okay.
So Lucha Underground, Impact, Aro Lucha, and then on top of that you could add New Japan, AAA, CMLL, Ring of Honor, Noah. There's a ton of really cool companies that aren't necessarily the behemoth WWE, but have a cool specific style of wrestling. And to be able to have the opportunity like I have now to go back and forth between all these places is really keeping me on the cutting edge of wrestling.
How do you feel working for Impact Wrestling, although they have been making some changes a few months ago?
I think Impact is making a lot of necessary changes.
Okay.
They, the roster that they have currently in place, I think, is one of the most talented rosters in the world currently, and I'm excited to see what Impact looks like 6 months from now and a year from now, because I think they're making a lot of hard decisions, but necessary decisions if they want to stay in business, and they're doing it. They're making these calls with the idea that they want to be here in a year or two, and maybe 2 or 3 grow Impact into something much bigger than what it currently is.
Great, excellent. How can you compare Lucha Underground to Aro Lucha, which they have the same style, Mexican and American?
I'd say they're
wrestling?
different. I mean, Aro Lucha is really a family entertainment. I mean, look at out there. There's a ton of kids. Like this is really a show for families and kids. Listen, everyone's having a good time. And Lucha Underground is I would say more adult based. It's a harder core style, not just of wrestling, but of show. Lucha Underground is first and foremost a TV show, and it's the first ever TV show first wrestling show that I believe I've ever seen. It's got more of an action film, grindhousey type cinematic style, but like that type of style is something that makes Lucha Underground stand out completely different. I mean, people are getting murdered on the show. There's dragons, there's creatures, there's spirits. There's a lot of like Aztec history that's woven into the biographies of the characters on Lucha Underground. It's a cool thing, and it's different from Aro Lucha. The two are very different, but both awesome in their own right.
finish mentioning 10 people and you describing it with one word. Can we do that?
Sure, let's hit it.
Okay, The Miss.
Awesome. Or should I say awesome?
Joey Mercury.
Trying to think how to describe it with one word. If I had 2 words, the second word would be abs. But first word, genius.
All right, Taya Valkyrie.
The love of my life. Beautiful, inside and out.
Awesome. Rey Mysterio.
Class and talent. The coolest guy inside and out of the ring that I've ever met in the business.
Awesome. Eddie Guerrero.
Legend. Completely defines legend. Man, one word is hard. It's hard to describe these guys with one word.
Yes.
I could talk about Eddie for an hour. What I learned from him, how I feel about him.
Awesome. Dolph Ziggler.
Talent. Super talented dude. I don't think he's been used anywhere near the way that he could be used to utilize his full potential in the business. And friend, he's at my wedding party. Did you know that?
Yeah?
Yeah, he's
Awesome.
a groomsman.
That's great.
I'm worried that he's gonna look better than me in the suit.
Great. Zack Ryder.
The broski. Man, creative. I'm trying to think of a good word for Zach. He's an underdog,
Okay.
but an ambitious underdog that will always find a way to make it work for himself. A survivor in a way. He is a super fan of wrestling, a super fan of nerd culture, Ghostbusters, comic books, Superman, all that kind of thing. And he loves that. He loves wrestling, and he takes that passion that he has for all those things into the ring when he's wrestling, and into his life, and into theme parks when he's not wrestling.
Awesome. Al Snow.
Al Snow, mentor. He has just got a wealth of knowledge about the business and has been passing it down from the time that I've known him until now.
Awesome. Ricochet.
Ricochet. Oh, dude, rock, like, I mean, in my opinion, most talented in the world right now. He's, I'm interested to see what he does with WWE, and I hope they let him be him, because I've never seen a more complete wrestler than him. He can do power stuff. He can do high flying, aerobic stuff, striking. Just give him a ring and point the seats in that direction and let him entertain people.
Great. Last one. John Hennigan.
Ooh.
All right. One last question. We will see any day, anywhere, once again, John Hennigan in the WWE.
You never know. It's a crazy time in wrestling. Here we are outside of an Aro Lucha show.
Yep.
We've had a great weekend. Starting to film Lucha Underground Season 4 next week.
Wow.
Then I'm going back to Impact. And it feels really great to have this much control of my time. But like I said, I grew up watching WrestleMania. And it's tough. It's I don't know. Ultimately, it would be cool to do something with WWE down the line. It's just going to be a matter of time and place. It's a John Morrison line. Figuring out that perfect combination of time and place is everything.
To end this interview, I want to send a message to all the fans in Puerto Rico, Mexico, and the United States that are watching you right now.
Wrestling is all about the energy that takes place when people like me are in the ring and people like you are watching. Without fans of wrestling, of which I was from the time I was a kid until now, without the fans, there'd be no wrestlers. Without the wrestlers, there'd be no fans. So I want to say thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to perform in front of you every night, and every time I do, it's an honor.
Sin lugar a duda, pasamos un rato espectacular con John Hennigan, donde pudimos apreciar su carrera exitosa tanto en la lucha libre como en la actuación. Adicional a eso, nos enteramos también de su participación en empresas bien conocidas como WWE, Impact, Aro Lucha y Lucha Underground. También ha estado en distintos países como México y Japón, entre otros. Así que John Hennigan, te damos las gracias por compartir ese rato con nosotros aquí en Contralona TV. Antes de culminar, quiero recordarles que se suscriban a nuestro canal de YouTube, Contralona. Síguenos a través de Facebook, Google Plus y Twitter. Y la sorpresa que ya pronto viene por ahí. Adicional, entre a nuestro website contralona.com para que te enteres de lo último, tanto en entrevistas, noticias y todo lo relacionado con la lucha libre. Me despido por ahora con ustedes, soy Tatiana Jiménez, aquí en Contralona, conectando la lucha libre contigo.
Feelings,